What do I do now that I found out my partner is likely cheating with her ex while we're preparing to have a baby together, and I still love her, but don't know if I can trust her again? Just found out my partner was still seeing her ex while we were planning for a baby together. I never expected my life to look like this right now. In fact, if you'd asked me even a few weeks ago, I would have told you that I was the happiest I'd ever been, in love, planning for a baby, building a future with someone I thought I truly knew. It all started about 7 months ago, though really, the story goes back much further. We were old school friends, the kind that always had a quiet, unspoken what if lingering beneath the surface. Over the years, we'd each gone our own way, had long-term relationships, grown in different directions. But after both of our respective breakups last year, something shifted. Slowly, cautiously, we reconnected, and before long, we were something more. Something easy, vibrant, even joyful. It felt natural in a way nothing else ever had. We'd joke, why didn't we do this years ago? And dream aloud about how different life might have been if we'd found our way to each other sooner. It felt like the kind of love people wait their whole lives for, not flashy or perfect, but full of laughter, shared understanding, and that quiet foundation of deep history. Not long into this new chapter together, she got devastating news. One of her exes, someone she'd dated for several years, had tragically drowned while traveling in Spain. I could see the grief hit her like a freight train. They hadn't been together in some time, but I knew he'd been a significant part of her life. I still think fondly of my ex. If something happened to them, I know I'd be wrecked, so I gave her as much empathy and space as I could. I offered to back off, to let her grieve in whatever way she needed to. But she told me she wanted me there. So I stayed. I stayed even though watching her memorialize him online, visiting his family, sharing old photos, it all stung more than I wanted to admit. But grief is messy and personal, and I reminded myself over and over that this didn't mean she didn't love me. I told myself, and her, that I would support her through it all. In the months that followed, our relationship deepened. We grew closer. We spent more time together, traveled, talked about the future. And somewhere in that blur of love and healing, we conceived a baby, completely unplanned but welcomed with open hearts. We were careful, but it happened. And neither of us blinked. We just embraced it. She'd always said she wanted to be a mother someday, and for me, it had always been a quiet dream, too. It wasn't perfect timing. We weren't even living together yet, but we began to prepare. We started browsing homes, talking about names, researching strollers, and prenatal vitamins. I'd never felt so grounded and so hopeful at the same time. But then, everything changed. It started with a few small things, inconsistencies, vague answers to simple questions. She'd go quiet sometimes, vanish for hours with little explanation. I tried to brush it off. Pregnancy is hard. Grief is hard. I didn't want to be controlling. I trusted her. I believed in what we were building. Then, by some cruel twist of fate, a mutual friend slipped up. Something about a message she'd sent her ex, a visit, a conversation that didn't add up. At first, I thought it had to be a misunderstanding. But the more I looked, the more I uncovered. And what I found gutted me. Turns out, she had still been seeing another ex. Not the one who passed, but someone else from her past, throughout the early months of our relationship. Overlapping. Lying. And almost certainly sleeping with him at the same time she was with me, while we were planning for our child. I don't know if there's a word for how that feels. Betrayal doesn't quite cover it. It's this burning mix of disbelief, heartbreak, humiliation, and fury. I felt sick. I still feel sick. I kept picturing our baby, the house, the tiny clothes we'd started to shop for, the ultrasound appointment we'd scheduled together. And all of it now feels like a story she was telling me while living a different one behind my back. It was around this time, after we'd crossed into that hopeful second trimester, after all the excitement of finding a house and finally locking it in, that I started noticing something. Not a glaring red flag at first. More like a flicker. A quiet tug at the corner of my mind that something wasn't quite right. We'd always had this open, easy understanding. If either of us were going out, seeing friends, even just running errands, we'd chat about it freely. It was never controlling or invasive, it was just natural. A kind of comfort in knowing where the other was and feeling like we were walking through life together. Except for one person. There was one name, or rather, the absence of one, that kept showing up. Just a friend. Or an old friend from work. That's how she always referred to him. I remember the first time I asked, it was casual, just a, hey, where do you know him from? as she answered a message. Her response was vague, just someone from the last city, or we worked together for a bit, and then the conversation would shift. Quickly. Too quickly. I didn't push. I respected her right to have her own friendships, her privacy, especially with all the grief she'd been navigating this past year. We were building a life together, buying a house, preparing for a baby. Trust had to be the baseline. So I gave her the benefit of the doubt. But still, I noticed. I noticed how her phone would dim or disappear when I walked into the room. How if this friend texted, she'd suddenly become quiet or distracted. How, even when we were curled up on the couch planning the baby's room, she was miles away in thought after replying to him. I told myself it was nothing. That my instincts were being too sharp, too paranoid. That I was letting past relationships bleed into this one. I mean, we had just found our dream home together, for God's sake. We'd survived the chaos of the first trimester, the anxiety of all those early scans. We were a team, weren't we? To celebrate everything we'd gotten through, the house, the pregnancy, making it through some rough patches, we booked a 10-day holiday together. A proper break. Just us. I remember feeling so happy to be getting away, imagining it as the last big romantic trip before parenthood swept in and changed everything. It was a great trip, at first. Sun-drenched days, lazy breakfasts, shared jokes over dinner, incredible sex. We talked a lot about the future, baby names, the color of the nursery walls. I let myself believe we were solid again. But even there, even in that idyllic setting, he was still there. It started small. I'd see his name light up her phone, and she'd immediately flip it over. One night, we were in bed scrolling side by side, and she got a message from him, and her whole body language shifted. I asked gently again, "Hey, who is that guy really?" I tried to keep my voice neutral, curious, not accusatory. She paused. Then she sighed like I was being ridiculous. "We had a little thing before you," she said. "It wasn't serious. It just fizzled out, and we stayed friends. He's cool, we have history, but there's nothing going on now. You're being silly." And maybe I was being silly. I mean, everyone has a past. People stay friends with exes all the time. I told myself that. I told her I was sorry for doubting her. We kissed, made up, spent the rest of the day exploring a beach town like nothing had happened. But something inside me still felt uneasy. Like I'd pushed the doubt down, but not out. That feeling only grew worse when I noticed something else. Photos I'd taken of her. Photos from our holiday. I'd catch glimpses of them sent to him. And not just selfies, full shots, candid moments I'd captured because I thought she looked beautiful. Things that felt intimate. Ours. Why did it bother me so much? I kept asking myself that. Was I just insecure? Was I being possessive? I didn't want to be that guy. I prided myself on being trusting, open-minded. I didn't want to police her friendships. But something about the way she sent those pictures, quickly, quietly, followed by a sudden shift in mood or a rush to put her phone away, told me there was more beneath the surface. And yet, I stayed silent. Again. Because I loved her. Because we were planning a family. Because I didn't want to believe the woman I was building a life with could be hiding something from me. I just wanted this to work so badly. For us. For the baby. Then, one night, we were at a beachside cafe, the kind with low-hanging lights and soft jazz in the background, winding down after a long, sun-filled day. She excused herself to go to the bathroom, left her phone in my hand, told me to watch over it. I stared at the screen, mind racing. I didn't want to be that person, the one who snoops, who violates trust. But something in me, it just wouldn't quiet down. For months I'd been trying to kill this instinct, bury the doubt, shut off the gnawing feeling that something wasn't right. That little voice saying, "You already know, don't you?" And when I unlocked her phone, the passcode she'd freely given me long ago, I knew right away. I hadn't been imagining things. It was all there, right in front of me. I didn't go digging far. Just opened up the messages between her and the same guy she'd kept brushing off as just a friend. And what I found stopped my heart cold. Their conversation was more than friendly. Way more. There were messages talking about how great last night was. Him saying how much he loves her body. Her saying she loved being held by him, loved holding him, how good it felt to cuddle in bed and let the frustration out. The kind of language that didn't leave room for ambiguity. It was intimate, it was physical, and it was recent. I scrolled through more. My hands were trembling. Each message another punch to the gut. She told me she was grieving, told me she was dealing with stress with pregnancy hormones, that she needed space some days. But here, on her phone, were signs of her finding comfort in someone else's arms. Literally. There were photos too, nothing explicit, but the kind you'd send someone you're trying to keep interested. Things I thought were just for me. When she came back from the bathroom, I couldn't look her in the eye. I handed her the phone back and said we needed to talk. I showed her the screenshots I took. I'm not proud of it, but I needed to preserve the truth in case she tried to lie her way out of it. I asked her, as calmly as I could, to explain what the hell was going on. I told her I thought we were in this together, building a home, preparing for a child, and that this felt like betrayal. Pure and simple. She looked shocked at first, then defensive, then cold. It's not what you think, she said. That's just how we talk. It's harmless flirting. We've always been like that. Harmless? When she's talking about being in his bed, about how she missed his touch. I told her that might have been true before, but this isn't before. This is now. And now, she's with me. We're expecting a baby. We're planning a future. And she's out there, emotionally, physically, being with someone else. She insisted it wasn't cheating. That she never meant for it to go too far. That it was complicated. Then she pulled up her message history and started showing me times she told him they needed to stop seeing each other. That she needed distance. That she was trying to be respectful of what we had. And sure enough, I saw those messages. I even believed she tried. But the problem was it never stopped. He'd reach out again a few weeks later, always just as a friend. And slowly, always predictably, the messages would ramp back up. Flirty jokes, late-night texts, emotional confessions. Then plans to meet. Then cuddling. Then more. Each time she gave in. Each time, she chose not to shut the door completely. And each time, she told me nothing. The worst part was, I could see she was torn up about it. I could see her guilt, her panic, the way she couldn't quite defend herself, but also wouldn't admit what it clearly was, cheating. Maybe not just sex, maybe not full-blown romance, but betrayal all the same. I sat on the bed, hands buried in my face, trying to process everything. The future I thought we were building had just collapsed. Not just for me, for our unborn child, for the home we'd been planning, for the life I thought I finally had a handle on. And obviously, I'm absolutely crushed. I didn't shout. I didn't scream. I just sat there, staring out at the sea, wondering how the hell I got here. I asked her, trying not to break down in the middle of the hotel room, why she was having a baby with me, planning a whole future with me, when she was clearly still seeing someone else. When her body was with me, her hand in mine, her head on my chest, but her heart seemed to have been in two places. She started crying immediately. Said she wasn't in her right mind, that she's been all over the place emotionally since the death of her ex. That she was confused and overwhelmed and didn't know how to process it all. That the grief from losing someone she once loved had twisted up her sense of right and wrong and made her latch onto comfort and familiarity in any form she could find it. That she never meant for it to go that far. That she really wants this future, with me. And then, while I sat there in stunned silence, she opened up her phone and sent him a message, cutting it off, right then and there. Said she couldn't see or talk to him anymore, that it wasn't right. That she was committed to this relationship and this baby. She didn't wait for me to ask her to do it. Maybe that's what made it feel even more painful. Like some part of her did know she was doing wrong all along but only stopped because she got caught. The rest of the holiday was a mix of quiet stretches and long, painful talks. I tried to put on a face for strangers when we were out, but behind closed doors it was just tension, sadness, and confusion. I told her how gutted I was. How deeply this cut me. She kept swinging between tearful apologies and trying to minimize it, saying it wasn't like they were in love and how she tried so many times to shut it down. She even asked me to delete the screenshots I had of the messages. Said it wouldn't help me to keep looking back if we wanted to move forward. And part of me understands that. But part of me still can't let go of what those words looked like, felt like. The intimacy that was supposed to be mine, ours, being shared with someone else in whispers and sneaky meetups and cuddles that cross lines no matter how much she tries to blur them. I told her I needed space. Not because I stopped loving her, but because I need to respect myself too. I've stood by her, supported her through her grief, made plans around her, changed my life for her and for this baby. And she hurt me. Deeply. Betrayal isn't always black and white, but this was a series of choices made in the dark while I was in the light, building something real with her. She's gone to her sister's for now, trying to work through her own thoughts. And I'm here, walking through every corner of the apartment in silence, looking at baby catalogs we picked out, our house viewing notes, and the first ultrasound picture that's still stuck to the fridge with a magnet that says, "Better together." And I still love her. God, I still love her. But I don't know if that love is enough. I want to forgive her, I really do. But I also feel like I'd be betraying myself if I just swept this under the rug. Love is more than chemistry, more than shared memories, it's trust, and she broke that. And then there's the baby. Due in 6 months. A tiny, growing life that never asked to be born into confusion, into heartbreak, into mistrust. A baby I already love more than I thought possible. The thought of not raising it in a whole, loving home terrifies me. I don't want to be a part-time dad. I don't want our child growing up with 2 separate bedrooms, 2 birthdays, 2 sets of rules. I wanted this to be our beginning, not our breaking point. I don't know. I truly don't know. I feel split in half, one side desperate to believe in her, to build a family, to heal. The other side reminding me that if I stay after this, I'm telling her it's okay to treat me this way. And maybe that's the biggest question. If I forgive her, will this happen again? And if I walk away, will I be able to live with breaking our family before it's even started? I don't have the answers right now. I just have a broken heart, a growing baby, and the faint hope that maybe, just maybe, this isn't the end of everything we were building. But I'm also starting to realize that sometimes love isn't enough. Not if it isn't built on trust. And I don't know how to get that back.